Guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about what makes a good poultry house. We're going to be talking about poultry structures because you guys have seen that there's so many types of poultry structures that are built. I have my poultry structures here. They are built using some of the cheapest material you'll ever find. Now in reality they're actually not cheap because of the grand scale of how big they are. Some of, well, not some, but all of my chicken houses, the ones on this farm, are actually a bit, I would say, big. So what that means is that they measure 20 meters in length. 20 meters in length of anything is not small, yeah? And then in terms of width, they're 8 meters in width, yeah? And then they use iron sheeting material. Now, depending on the country you're in, iron sheeting is also not a very cheap thing because I know a lot of people who live in houses that don't even have iron sheeting. They use, grass for thatching their houses because they can't afford an iron sheet. And when someone works very, very hard, maybe they can buy like 4 or 5 iron sheets and keep them somewhere ready to roof their house. Yeah, just 5 iron sheets, that's enough to roof their house. So, but honestly speaking, in terms of the cost of the kinds of structures you can actually build, and using iron sheeting and poles, just like you see me utilize on all the structures right here, is one of the cheapest things, yeah? And you can utilize it on whether you have a very big house like that or a tiny house like this, yeah? So this is a tiny house. I think this measures like, I don't know, 4 meters by like 2 meters. Yeah, I think it's 4 by 2 meters. So that's much smaller. That's like 8 square meters compared to 160 square meters that I utilize for, the bigger houses, yeah? So in the grand scheme, first of all, why do you need a poultry house? Why would a farmer, why would anyone have a poultry house? Number one, they need to provide the right environment for the chickens, yeah? So chickens, first of all, need to feed. And for me, for example, I'm doing commercial layers. So inside those chicken houses, I do have, layers, yeah, all of them. They're all at different ages. I think this house right here is actually the oldest flock. It's about 88 weeks. That's quite crazy, yeah? I think it's moving on to 89 weeks very soon. So it's a very old flock, a very, very old flock. And guys, it's amazing how well it is doing because even at 89 weeks, sometimes it gives us up to 80% in terms of production. Now, consistently, it's about the 77% mark. But even that 77% is quite high for 88 weeks. That's quite impressive. These are Issa Brown chickens, yeah? And I'm really loving what they're doing for me. Really, really loving them, yeah? So 88 weeks, they are right here and they're laying. I mean, on a lot of other farms, by this point, they would have already off-laid and they would be thinking of bringing in other chickens. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, I initially thought I would off-lay them like at 85 weeks. But when I saw how well they were laying, I told myself, okay, I'll off-lay them at 90 weeks. But I'm saying how well they are laying, I'm thinking of pushing them up to 100 weeks, yeah? So as long as the cost of feed is not like too crazy, even at 100 weeks, they would still be profitable for me. So I'm still just going to keep them around. I'll keep them until maybe 100th week. I'll just keep calculating week per week, how much it costs to feed them and how profitable they are. But right now, they're actually still quite profitable and I'll be decided to keep them around. Yeah, so it's my oldest flock. And I think my oldest chicken house right here was built in 2022, I do believe. So this is 2025, it's about 3 years old. That's the second flock that it's having. That's the, the farthest house that you're seeing right there. That's the second flock that it's having inside there, yeah? So number one, if you want to keep your chickens up to 88 weeks, like I am, then you need to make sure that you provide for them a house because if they are not in a comfortable place, then they want to get sick. Yeah, they're going to get sick. When the rain comes, it's going to hit them. When the wind comes, it's going to hit them. If the environment inside the house is not the best, they're going to get sick because of a lot of ammonia, a lot of, all this chaos and things like that. So you need to build a chicken house. But also for security, you want to make sure people don't come and steal your chickens, yeah? For me, I do it for security, so I don't want people to come around and start, stealing my chickens, taking them wherever and all these kinds of things. No, they are safe inside the chicken house and, that's a really good thing and I try to maintain it that way. What makes a good poultry house? Yeah, what makes a good poultry house? I've shared before how I once met a farmer who had built a poultry house that honestly cost, I think, over $100,000. Yeah, a poultry house that cost over $100,000 and it was built terribly. That poultry house was made from like concrete, good concrete support and things like that. It was built the wrong way. My chicken house is here, a chicken house that covers 20 meters by 8 meters and it's 2 floors. It has the capacity for 2,000 chickens. I keep 2,500 because I've figured out how. Such a poultry house for me, cost me about $6,500. Maybe a little bit more than that, yeah? Between $6,000 and $6,500. This guy spent over $100,000 on a poultry house, and he built it the wrong way. So what makes a poultry house, okay? The one thing you need to understand is that, first of all, chickens don't care about looks. So they don't care whether a poultry house is made of iron sheeting or grass thatch or gold or concrete. They really don't care, yeah? I mean, if this house right here is made from iron sheeting and this house is made from concrete and the other house is made from gold, these chickens won't tell me that I'm going to give you less eggs because my house is made from iron sheeting. And the ones from gold will be like, oh, we are really happy. I mean, our owner cares about us. Let's give him golden eggs, or let's give him way more eggs than the rest of the chickens. No, they really don't care about such things, yeah? What they care about is how comfortable they are inside the house. And how comfortable is really dependent on a few factors. Factor number one, the temperature inside the house, yeah? So if the house doesn't have the right temperature, it doesn't matter the material that you utilize, yeah? And how do you ensure that you have the right temperature on the inside the house? By ensuring that the sides of the house are open. So if you guys can see the sides of my chicken houses, they are very, very nicely open, yeah? Very nicely open. I'll just move onto one of them, yeah? So if you guys can see this house right here, at the bottom I have an iron sheeting, and that iron sheeting is about 3 feet, maybe 2.5 to 3 feet, and then I have the top, this, which is 7 feet, yeah? And then if we go to the top floor, it's even a little bit more, yeah? It's about 8 feet, and that runs the entire side, yeah? It runs the entire side, this side. So a lot of times, a lot of people ask me then, they're like, doesn't rain enter your chicken house? Yeah, if you have such kinds of houses. No, rain doesn't enter the chicken house. As you guys can see, there is a shed. Yeah, you guys can see this. This is a shed, you guys can see it. So I'm standing in, and there's a shed. I think you can see it moving backwards, yeah? There's a shed. That shed ensures that, it doesn't matter the angle at which the rain comes in, yeah? If the rain comes, it will still hit the iron sheet, even if it comes at a very steep angle. Same exact thing, at the top, there's also a shade. You can see the shade, yeah? So if I'm standing far out, like here, you might not notice the shade on that house, but when I get close to it, you'll notice it does have a shade, just like you have right here. So the rain never enters, yeah? It doesn't matter how heavy or how windy the rain is, the farthest it can go is onto the iron sheetings that you do have on the side, yeah? So that's the first thing. You need to make sure that you give the chickens enough aeration, as open as possible. Sometimes people wonder, and they're like, oh, doesn't it get too cold? Now, I'm really lucky that I'm in a tropical country. Tropical country means that our temperatures all year round are literally almost the same, yeah? Our temperature will probably vary from coldest on rainy days, like really rainy cold days, from like 18 degrees Celsius, which is honestly not low, to the hottest days will be like 32 degrees, 33 degrees. Those will be like the very hot days, yeah? But most of the year, it's going to be around 26, 27, 28 degrees, which is comfortable enough for the chickens. Now, I do have some farmers, for example, in the Farm Up Academy, I have a farmer who is in a country, I think it's in Namibia, and over there, it gets really cold sometimes, yeah? I think she was telling me sometimes it gets frozen. So you wake up and the water inside the pipes is frozen, yeah? That's really, really crazy, yeah? And in such a place, you'd have to deal with the temperatures better. You'd probably have to put curtains on the sides during the cold times to bring them down, and then provide extra heating inside the chicken house, which is what we have done on her farm. It has actually implemented it very well, yeah? For me, right here, if you're in a tropical country, I mean, you're in Kenya, you're in Tanzania, you're in Uganda, you're in Nigeria, it doesn't really freeze, yeah? I mean, if you're in South Africa, things might be a bit different for you. Then all you need is proper aeration. You need as good aeration. Now, it doesn't matter. Even if you're in those countries, you still need good aeration. If you don't need good aeration, then you're going to have to use AC houses. But we're not talking about AC houses. You're talking about how to build a house cheap, yeah? As cheap as possible. So this is probably going to be your best alternative. That's number one, yeah? Number two, the house should be very easy to clean, yeah? So you guys can see the material I have used is iron sheeting on the side. Iron sheeting is quite easy to clean. We've cleaned that house, the very first house that I do have on the farm. We've cleaned it before, and all we needed to use was the pressure washer, yeah? So because the pressure washer can hit the iron sheeting really well, the floor of the chicken house is actually built from concrete, so we can utilize, a pressure washer to actually clean the concrete very nicely. Using a pressure washer, the guys first scrub, then we use a pressure washer to clean the floor, the concrete, and all those kinds of things, and the house gets, very nice and beautiful, yeah? So second thing is, make sure that the house is very, very easy to clean. Number 3 is orient your houses in the east to west direction as often as possible. That's what I've done. That's why you guys can see my houses move this way. If I wanted the houses to be built better, for me it was actually have been better for me to build my houses in the north to south direction, because the slope is much gentle on the north to south. In fact, I don't even have a slope on the north to south direction. It's easier for me to build that way. But east to west, there's a bit of a slope, so I need to, like, you know, carry soil and put it in particular places to level the places for the houses to be flat, yeah, for the houses to be straight. But I need to go through it because I want to make sure that I don't have sunshine entering the chicken houses. If sunshine enters the chicken houses, then, I mean, the sunshine is going to cause the chicken houses to get chaotic. They're going to get birds skewing to the side where the sunshine is and things like that, and that's going to cause its own problems. Yeah, so that is the third thing. You want to make sure that you build your houses in the east to west direction, not north to south, not any other direction. And I mean, why don't you want to spend so much on your poultry house? Yeah, I'll tell you the honest truth. When it does come to chickens and chicken houses don't give you money. They don't, yeah? What's going to give you the money? The chickens that are inside the chicken house and the feed that you're going to be feeding on the chickens themselves, yeah? So it doesn't matter. You guys can see that my poultry houses here have been built from iron sheeting and timber. I could do the very same style using bricks, you know, build it 2-storied, using bricks and everything. Of course, the main advantage is that it would last much longer, yeah? So it would probably last, I don't know, much longer. This house might probably go like 10, 15 years, yeah? And after that, it would need replacing. Now, after that, I can decide to build the same house again, or I can decide to build a permanent structure at that moment, yeah? It doesn't really matter. I could decide to build a permanent structure. I can decide to build an EC-controlled house or things like that. But when you're starting out, especially when you're starting out, what you want to optimize for is cash flow. You want to be able to get in money. I've seen a lot of farmers build very expensive, beautiful houses, and they don't have enough money to buy chickens. They don't have enough money to feed the chickens. They don't have enough money to, you know, provide water to the chickens. They don't have enough money to buy the right equipment for the chickens. Yet they spent a lot of money building, you know, a very expensive chicken house. So I personally believe that when you're starting out, you want to make sure that your house is as cheap as possible. The cheaper the house can be, the easier it's going to be for you to, you know, have money left over, because like I've said, chickens don't care about how expensive a house is. What they care about is how comfortable it is. Yeah? So keep your house as cheap as possible. If you have it as cheap as possible, then you have more money to spend on other things. To spend on the chickens, buying the chickens, to spend on the feed, on the equipment, the things that actually are going to bring you money. Yeah, the chicken house is not going to bring you money, and honestly speaking, after 10 years, I'll certainly have enough money to, you know, put up maybe another house, or 15 years maybe, or to build the most expensive house. I could build a gold-plated house, because the chickens or these houses have actually brought me the money that I do need, you know, to scale the farm up. So that's it. Don't build very expensive houses. And finally, what are the right measurements to construct a chicken house? What you need to understand is that when it comes to chicken houses, you want the house to not be very wide. Yeah? If you're using an open-sided house like I am building here, I mean 8 to 10 meters is the maximum that you should make your house. 8 to 10 meters maximum, yeah? More than 10 meters, I think, is not a very nice idea, yeah? More than 10 meters, not a good idea. So 8 to 10 meters maximum that you should make your house, and then after that, your house can be as long as you want. You can make, I mean, on the breeder farm, I have houses that are 200 meters, yeah? I think 200 by 12. I made it 12 meters because the chicken house is quite high, yeah? So that chicken house is like 3 meters high. So 3 meters high is really high, yeah? That's like 10 feet, yeah? 10 feet high. So I only have maybe 2.5 feet of the floor, and then the rest of the 7 to 8 feet is actually, you know, aeration all the way up. Because of that, I could make the house a bit wider so that we have enough aeration inside the chicken house. But if your house is not that high, then you can't make it that wide, yeah? So, you know, 8 to 10 feet, then you can make it as long as you want, as long as you calculate the space requirement for the birds. So for layers, like I'm doing right here, you want to do 6 birds per square meter, and for broilers, you want to do between 10 to 13 birds per square meters, depending on, you know, how hot the area is, yeah? So I hope you guys have actually enjoyed the video. This saves you a lot of problems, yeah? Chicken houses are very important, and you need to build them the right way. You certainly need to build them the right way. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another one. Lots of love. Bye-bye.